everyone, and welcome back to the channel where your likes, comments, and subs are always greatly appreciated. In front of me, I have the Zoom R20 multi-track recorder. And regarding the R20, I get plenty of questions that are all centered around once you're done recording on this device, how do you get your music or your audio off of this device to a place where you can actually email your project or your song to a friend, or you want to listen to it in your car, you want to upload it to a streaming service. I've even had multiple people ask me, how do you burn a CD with this? And the quickest and easiest way to answer all of those questions is to simply take the SD card out of the side of the R20, put it into your computer, and from there you'll be able to see individual project folders which have all of your songs on it. All of the individual tracks will be there, and you can now import those individual WAV files for each track into a digital audio workstation and further manipulate it there. Or if you want, before you even do any of that, you can choose to mix down on the R20. So regardless if your project has 1 track or 16 tracks or anything in between, you could choose to mix down and it will create a single stereo WAV file of your song that you can then move off of the SD card onto your computer. From there, turn it into whatever kind of format you want, so you can listen to it in your car, upload it to a streaming service, email it to a friend, or you could burn it to a CD. Now, the projects for the R20 default to being 24-bit at 44.1 kilohertz. If you want to burn it to a CD, you will need to down convert that 24-bit file into a 16-bit file. You can record at 16-bit by going through your project settings before you start recording with a project. I don't really recommend that because you could benefit from the extra headroom using 24-bit recording, but any kind of software, if you're burning CDs, will probably allow you to automatically convert down to 16-bit 44.1 kilohertz. But that's not really what I want to focus on for this video today. What I would like to do is create a tutorial on how can you take your songs that you've created on the R20 and instead of going to a computer, move them directly to a phone or a tablet. So without any kind of computer intermediate step, I'm going to show you 2 different ways that are relatively straightforward on how you can move your recorded project from the R20 onto a phone or a tablet. Now, this is not to be confused with using this as a digital interface, an audio interface for your phone or tablet. This is doing all your recording work directly on this standalone box here. And then once you're done recording, moving it to your phone or your tablet. So I'm going to show you 2 different ways that you could do that. Let's go ahead and get started. The first way that we're going to establish a connection between the R20 and our phone is just by a direct link. In order for you to achieve that, you're going to need a USB cable. The R20 has a USB-C port on the side, so one side of your USB cable is going to have to be USB Type-C. The other end is going to depend on what phone you have. I have currently an iPhone 16 Pro, which means that it already has a USB-C port on the bottom of the phone. So I'm going to be able to establish a direct connection going USB-C to USB-C. If you have an older iPhone, you may need the camera adapter, which will be an adapter that allows you to connect through a lightning port on one side, and then usually it's USB-A on the other side. If that's the case, then you're going to need a USB cable that has USB-C on one side with USB-A on the other in order to create that connection. The other thing that's important to note is that your USB cable needs to be able to support data. So it can't just be a power cable. It also has to support data. As long as the speeds are 2.0 or faster, you're fine. So you don't need a Thunderbolt cable or anything like that. A USB 2.0 cable will be fine in order to establish this direct connection between the R20 and your phone. Now, if you're coming from an Android device, those are usually all USB-C at this point in time. So at this point, it's easy for you to just use a USB-C to USB-C cable to establish that direct connection between your R20 and your phone or your tablet. If you are using an iOS device, the first thing that you may have to do if you've never hooked up a MIDI controller or any other accessory to the iPhone is to go to settings, and then from settings, scroll down and find Face ID and passcode. Select that. You may have to put in your PIN. And once you do, you can go down to the bottom of the list of settings for this, and there should be something that's listed as accessories. You want to make sure that accessories is toggled on. This will allow your iPhone or iOS device to actually interact with accessories through the USB port. If you're coming from Android, it's the same kind of thing. You just might have to go through the settings and find something that it allows it to make connections with OTG accessories, on-the-go accessories that will interact through the USB port. For people who are using Android out there, if you've got some extra tips and tricks, please add it to the comment section below for other Android users in this video. But once you turn on the accessories in an iOS settings, you should be able to now establish a direct connection between your R20 and your iOS device. The next thing that you're going to need to do in order to establish that connection is to actually hook up the USB cable. So plug in the USB cable to the R20 and then connect it to your phone or tablet. In this case, I'm hooking it up to my iPhone. Once you do that, you will need to go into the settings of the R20 in order to get this connection to actually work. So here you can see I'm within a project. You can see my song. I need to go back to the project menu and then go all the way back to the main menu of the R20. Once I'm in the main menu, hit the settings cog up in the top right. And you want to scroll down a little bit until you find the option for SD card. Let's select that. Once you're in the SD card submenu, you can now go to SD card reader. Let's select that. And here it should establish a connection between your R20 and the phone. You also get a notification that says data cable OK. This is also to verify that the USB cable that you're using actually can support data. Now, once you see this screen, you don't want to unplug anything, but you should be able to go into your iOS device and then find the Files app. Within the Files app, you are in the Browse menu. You may need to go back one level, but once you're there, you should be able to see your browse settings, and your SD card, however you have it named, should be visible under the browse settings. And once you're in that browse location for the Files app, you should be able to just select whatever the SD card is, and all of your project folders should be visible. Within any project folder, you should be able to click it and then find all of your actual WAV files, which usually are like listed as a recording. So an REC 01_01, REC 02 for track 2, REC 03 for track 3, and so on. If you have any mixed down data, you'll be able to find that in the audio folder. So all of your songs are there, all your projects are there, the individual tracks and WAV files are all there that you can now load these things onto your phone and be able to put them into a DAW piece of software, or you can even just mail or email the WAV file to a friend. The second way that you can get your songs off of the R20 and get them directly onto your phone is to purchase one of these adapters. This is going to be an SD card reader that has usually a USB-C plug on the other end. And it's pretty simple. You just take your SD card out of the R20 and then put it into one of these SD card readers. And now you're going to plug this into your phone or your tablet, and it should work the exact same way, where you go into like a Files app and you can see all of your projects on this card. Now, huge caveat with this, these things are pretty cheap. You could find them like on Amazon for $8 to $12 for knockoff brands. But with iOS, I find that these knockoff brands don't work with a whole lot of consistency. It really depends on just the day, it seems like. Also depends on the formatting of the card and how much space is already taken up on the card if the iOS device is going to be able to recognize it. Seems to work a little bit better with Android devices, but if you do want to purchase one of these, you want to make sure that it says that it's OTG compatible or on-the-go compatible. That's going to give you the best chance that it will work with your Android devices. I don't really recommend that you go out and purchase one of these things right away. I think you should try the direct connection first, because you may just you need a USB-C cable that you already have somewhere in a drawer. This, since it doesn't always work and it gives me headaches, I haven't been able to get this to work consistently every single time. This isn't the first way that I recommend it, but if you already have one of these things laying around in a drawer, by all means, give it a shot. It may work for you, and it is pretty convenient because you could just take the SD card out, put it into this thing, hook it up to your phone or tablet, and you're ready to go. Whichever way you go, once you have that connection between your recorded music and your phone or your tablet, I think that you should actually copy the data directly onto your phone if you plan to work with it in a DAW. So here I can go to the SD card as I see it. I can pull up that song or project that I was looking at. I know that I have all of my data here. So I'm going to actually copy that entire folder. I'll choose to copy it here on my iOS device. Then I'll back out and choose now to record it on my iPhone, find an empty spot, and let's now paste, which should create a brand new folder, and it will copy all of the data directly onto my iPhone so I could work with it there, as opposed to always having to have this USB-C connection maintained if I continue to work on things with my songs onto my iPhone or on my tablet. Once you've moved your files from the SD card over to your iPhone or your Android device or your tablet, you can now actually use it in your DAW that's on your phone. If you've got an iOS device, you have GarageBand, so I could just quickly show you how you would import some of those recorded tracks that you originally created on the R20. Now on your phone, we can put them into GarageBand, where you can mix with them further. You can add other instruments and build on your song. So open up a new project in GarageBand, and then once you're in the track view screen, hit the plus button. Let's add in a new instrument. We're just going to choose audio recorder. We'll select that. We don't want to be on this screen where you can actually see the microphone and the levels. Instead, go to the track view. Once you're here, you want to pick the loop icon that's in the upper right-hand corner. And we can now search for files within the iPhone. So we're going to browse items from the Files app. Within there, you want to make sure you're set to browse. And on your phone, you can go back to the root directory and you should be able to see your folder that we stored over here. We copied over to the root directory of the phone that has all of our WAV files that are our individual tracks that we recorded on the R20. We can open that up. We can use one of the recordings. So let's just check off what's on track 1 here. And that should show up in a second on the screen. Once you have that, you just kind of touch and hold it. So you could drag it now over onto the instrument, and it should actually work. So that's how you can import your recordings from the R20 and just go straight to your iPhone, your Android, your tablet device, and be able to work with them further on your phone or your tablet. It's an easy way that you can have that direct connection. You don't have to use a computer as a middleman in order to have that transfer work for you. That's all I wanted to cover for this video. If you're an Android user and you were able to successfully establish a direct connection between the R20 and your Android device using a USB cable, please let us know what the settings are and give us any other tips that you may have that you were able to successfully get that connection to work so other Android users can benefit from it. Other than that, if you have any other questions, please leave them in the comment section below and I'll try to get to them in a timely fashion. All right, thanks for watching. See you again next time. Goodbye.